A long time ago, in a galaxy almost far, far away, three makers unite in order to share and discuss their knowledge. Join us as we light the spark that brings back your childhood in the Almost Star Wars show!
Hello everybody, welcome back to episode 5 of the Almost Star Wars show. And I'm James from the Rebel Base Build, and with me is...
I'm Dennis with the Black Market Outpost.
Hey, I'm Ron from cgrtist.
And we have a very special guest star on tonight's episode, our favourite smuggler, Brian from Smuggler's Room.
Hi everybody.
How you doing, Brian?
Brian, we're honoured. We're honoured to have you on our show.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Total fanboying right now.
Right, so half of us are going to be quiet and not say anything and just be like...
We've all been looking forward to this, but let me tell you, Dennis has been like a kid all week. So again, thank you very much, Brian, for giving up your time and coming on.
Appreciate it.
So I think you've watched a couple of our shows before, and
all of them.
Great, that's good. Well, we're going to try and stick to the same kind of format. We have a few topics that we talk about as a group. But first, we're going to interview you, Brian. I'm going to ask you some questions, man. You good with that?
I can't promise I'll be honest.
Right, okay. So the guys and I, we've got some questions for you tonight. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do, like we don't know.
All right, we'll give this a shot. I'm Brian Thompson. I'm from Colorado. And this is always an awkward question because I never know what to say. In my real life, I work for an audio-video manufacturer for custom AV. And then in my other life, I spend it in here doing geeky things for geeky people.
It's true that you run some kind of YouTube show?
That would probably be important to call out, huh? Yeah, so we run the Smuggler's Room. And it's based on the passion we have for Star Wars, but it's also even more so based on the passion we have for what we call building something out of nothing, where the whole purpose of the entire channel is to try to get other people that maybe have never built anything to give it a shot and try to build something themselves. And it's proving to be pretty exciting. A lot of people are trying to do things that they wouldn't have normally done otherwise.
Yeah, you've definitely started a revolution. It's the reason why I started my show. Absolutely.
It's the reason why I'm here.
Yep.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm here.
So Dennis, I think you've got some questions for Brian. Do you want to kick off the questions tonight? We'll go easy on you, Brian. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll go easy on you, Brian. Not a problem. So I guess my question that I've been pondering pretty much all week long is, you grew up under the Junkyard Jedi. We all know that. Most everybody that watches you know that. What was the first thing that you remember building away from the Jedi that you thought, wow, this is it, I can do this stuff?
That's kind of a weird answer to give you, but I don't think I've ever made anything where I said, wow, I can do this. Every time we start something, I feel like I'm starting over from scratch. And it's just kind of the way I am. With my dad, who is the Junkyard Jedi, for those that don't know, it's always been about a necessity of two parts: building something because we didn't want to go spend money on it, and building something because it's a lot more enjoyable to do it than not. So to get back to your question, the first thing I ever did without him was probably Boba Fett. And I call him Budget Fett because it literally was built for a couple $100. Armor out of trash cans, foam core for the jetpack. Actually, the jetpack is right there.
Yeah.
And it's all the foam core board. So yeah, that was probably the first thing I ever did without him being in the shop with me.
Well, what was that like then? When you broke away and started sort of doing that stuff on your own, what was it like?
I guess the way I should answer this is, as a kid, I didn't spend a lot of time in the shop. my dad was always building something, cabinetry, remodeling homes, that kind of thing. We didn't do a lot of prop building or that type of thing. We spent a fair amount of time messing with trains and kind of the environment on that. But overall, I didn't spend a ton of time in the shop. I started building more with him later when he built his first home. It was this massive 7,000 square foot house that I'm pretty sure he hammered every nail in the whole house. So a lot of the building skills I got was later in high school when he was doing that project. And so when I decided I was going to do a Boba Fett costume, there wasn't a lot of connection between my dad and that project. It was more of just, I wanted to try to build something. And really what happened was when we did our first version of the Smuggler's Room, we built a poker table down there, and I wanted droid crates, like carriers that R2 wears in Return of the Jedi that has the drinks on them. And I wanted them slightly smaller scale so that they could sit next to the poker table and we could put drinks on them. That was the whole premise behind it. And that brought my father full circle into building projects like this, because all of the parts and pieces for this guy right here, he handmade every single part and then cast every single part, or made a mold and then cast them. So it went from building houses to going away to college and then coming back and finding my own house and deciding I wanted drink carriers that look like droids, and then that brought us back together making stuff again.
So Lefty is 100% all handmade parts.
Yeah, there's cast parts on here, but they were all handmade from him. The dome was a cake lid, like a restaurant style cake lid that had the little knob on the top.
Right.
And it just happened to be that it was 12 inches in diameter, and then the body is sewer PVC for 12-inch diameter sewer pipe. So they just happened to match up. And then there's so many crazy things he did to get it all done.
Right.
But yeah, everybody always asks why we did them at that scale. And it literally was because I wanted a place to put a beverage while I played poker.
Nice.
It's not a bad reason.
No, I think it's a perfectly viable reason.
Best origin story ever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love that.
So
Okay.
I know there's some techniques where Junkyard Jedi uses steel and everything.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
The funny thing about him is that I follow this too. There really isn't a favorite material. It's, well, what material do I need to do X? And then go get it. And I've been working on some scale modeling stuff the last couple of weeks with our little Rancor terrarium and stuff, which is something I don't do. And I found that I use every tool I have to get it done, even though there are specific modeling tools and woodworking tools. And I got that from him.
So, of course, on last week's episode, we saw the animations that Cameron Ferguson made for the Junkyard Jedi. So it's cool. It's a nice link, actually, for you to talk about that. You mentioned the previous version of the Smuggler's Room. Now, I know you've talked about this a couple of times, but tell us a little bit more about that, because I remember finding those images on the RPF forum ages ago, and I know that both Ron and Dennis, we spoke about this before, and perfectly good room, fit for purpose, amazing, beautiful, lots of greeblies in lots of places. Aesthetically, but yeah, tell us your reasons for that.
For doing it or for tearing it down?
Both.
Okay. Both. Yeah. The reason for doing it at all. So picture yourself I was 37. It's been a while, guys. But you're in your mid 30s and you go to your wife and she says, "What do you want for your birthday?" And you say, "I want to make a spaceship in the basement." Imagine just for 1 second what your spouse would react to if you've never said anything like that before, right? Yeah, we all probably have that. Obviously, we all have it. So that's what happened. And she said, well, she didn't really understand it. And my wife's an interior designer and an interior architect. So for her, if I don't present a full drawing and all of that, it doesn't compute for her. So she asked if I would just stay in the corner. So my basement had this small corner, and I did for a couple weeks. I managed to stay there. And then she went out of town on a project, And when she came back a week later, I had spilled out into the room and I was bolting MDF right into the drywall and just making a really awesome mess down there. And I think that I was using the basement as like a piece of scratch paper and just doodling ideas. So everything just kind of was hodgepodge all over the place. There was no plan for any of it. And after about 2 years of working on it, I just quit. I quit working on it altogether because it looked terrible to me. Things were hot glued on the wall and stuff would fall off. Certain aspects of it were just poorly constructed. The shop that I'm in now, our garage, was like one workbench and a really bad table saw. It's what everybody starts with, right? You found that Craftsman Sears table saw for $40 and you went after it. So long story short, I just gave up. And one day she tells me, if you were gonna, I think the question was, what are we gonna do at the basement? And then I said, well, I would have loved to have finished it. And then she says, well, if you want to finish it, what would you do if you started over? So I shifted gears and went into SketchUp, and I designed the space and I rendered the space. And all of a sudden it came alive. It was like, I could do this. So it got her involved. And then she stopped and said, if you're going to do this, you need to record it. And I said, who in the hell is going to watch this? Right? Like, why would you watch some, 40-plus-year-old geek building, a spaceship in his basement? Well, it turns out there's a lot of us that like to do this kind of stuff, right? So she made me record all of it. And then that became more about everything else we do. And the basement is the slow-moving turtle in this race to finish something. But it's coming along the way I want it to this time.
That's really awesome. But Brian, myself and you, we've talked about this quite a bit anyway, because we spend a bit of time chewing over ideas and things. And I'm at the start of my project, as you can tell. I haven't really got very much further forward than a bench.
It's a heck of a start.
We got together and talked about the Facebook group, which is brilliant. I mean, that's just really taken off. There's some amazing work going on there. What do you think? What do you think some of the things you see on there? Because of course, not everybody. Well, not many people, in fact, put their stuff on YouTube. So a lot of this stuff, I'm certainly seeing for the first time. What are your thoughts on the community?
That makes me want to tear everything down and start over again in some ways.
I feel the same way.
Right? Yeah. I think that there's two things about it. One, you don't feel like you're by yourself, right? This hobby is not, I don't know how to explain it. You say this to somebody that doesn't know, and you're going to get the look of confusion. And I think finding all these folks that are doing this is really inspiring. So overall, I'm just inspired. And there are people making stuff that, you're right, we never would have seen. And it makes me stop and look at a project or the room and say, oh, I need to make a change right there, because that was a great technique, or that looks amazing. I should change that around. Ron's standing in front of something that I've seen change twice since I've known you, right? Yeah. But it's awesome. And now you're building a full door, and I don't know if that's where the inspiration came from, but there is some crazy cool work going on in that. The only place I have ever seen a full-blown room prior was Philip Wise from the rebelscum.com. He was on the RPF, and it was years and years ago, almost 10 years ago that I saw it. And he had built a display room for his collection, and it was Empire themed. Up until, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe, that was the only place I'd ever seen anybody do a room. And now we've got 6,000 plus members in that group, and they're all doing some degree, whether it's a closet or a full room.
Or a desk or windows.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing, some of the designs that are there. So I know exactly how you feel. You open up Facebook and you're like, oh, shoot, wow, that is a great idea. I need to do that.
Why didn't I do that?
I think we all have those feelings. It's very It's very common, I think. And even conversations you see taking place in that group, people saying the same things we're saying right now.
Yeah. But they're really positive. I've been a part of other groups where there's a lot of anger. There's always anger when you do something and someone else has that jealousy thing kick in, right? And they poke fun at it or they knock you down for it. And that group has been really positive, super supportive of everybody's projects. And to me, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And a shout out to Derek and Ado, the moderators in our team. They've been really, really very busy. Well, not busy actually, but mediocre busy. There's not a lot to moderate in terms of bad behavior. There's obviously quite a bit of behind the scenes with approving members and things. So they're doing a wonderful job. So thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. And there's so much more than just moderators as well. Really, really active members of the community on there. So that's cool.
Talented, both of them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What scares you when you build, material-wise or product or something you absolutely want to accomplish and are just afraid to go for it?
So far, the one thing that I avoid and I wish I wouldn't is 2 years ago, my wife got me a welder, and it's still in the box in the corner over there. And it's because I make excuses of I don't have a welding table and I need a backer board and all this other stuff. The truth is, it just terrifies me because it's metal, and it seems like it's really hard to work with, and that's probably because I avoid it. I feel like with wood I can mess up and start again, or foam. Who cares, right? It's the entry to barrier, or the barrier entry, however you want to say that, seems more intimidating to me with steel or aluminum and that kind of stuff. But it's something I really want to do because I'd love to do some things outside of the room that are big. But in that case, you'd have to figure out how to do metal work for just the structure stability, right?
Structural, yeah.
Who is the maker in the UK? He's unreal. He's got a huge following, and he builds land speeders, and he's got an underground bunker behind his house and an Adult Walker.
Colin Farsi.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I watch him, he's busting out the welder. So
yeah.
I would guess that's the only one I'm afraid of. Everything else, I'm anxious to just make a mess. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, we'll try again.
Yes. So I think we all have that fear. About 3, maybe even 4 months back, I poked at Ron every day. Hey, I want an airbrush. What do I get? I need an airbrush. What do I get? I got one.
Yeah.
It's not unpacked. It's still sitting in the box, compressor,
Why?
everything. I don't know. I just have a fear of using it. I just have not had the guts to break it open and go for it.
Yeah, same
I would
here.
say
It scares me.
Just do it. The only thing about the airbrush I don't like is how much I have to clean it.
Yeah.
But I was like that too with the airbrush. It seems like a really intimidating thing, and I've ruined a lot of stuff because I don't mix the paint right, or the air pressure isn't, and it splatters all over, and then I want to throw it in the garbage. And just do it. Just try it.
I'm the same, Dennis. I've got an airbrush I've never used as well. I purchased one.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to do this, but I don't know. There's two things for me. I think I'm not very confident with painting and weathering. Believe it or not, people seem to think I do a good job of it, but actually I just throw stuff on things and rub it off again and hope it works. But with an airbrush, I've watched loads of tutorials and people just seem to master it. But then there's another aspect of it where I think I don't like the airbrush look on some things. Like, I think it just looks airbrushed. And I think if you do it, and I guess these are the people that haven't mastered the technique, is where they airbrush every single line on a model. And then it looks nice, but it doesn't look realistic. It looks airbrushed. And I actually noticed that on a few of the actual props in the Mandalorian and in the show itself. I noticed some airbrushing on those. Maybe that was just me being picky. So it's kind of, that's pushed me away from ever really taking the plunge. Yeah, but I really must have a go.
I think that's one of my fears too. Like the Tusken Raider helmet. Every tutorial I watched, everything I went around, that they airbrush those lines in, and then they go back and weather it.
Yeah.
Man, I had that thing set up, and I looked at it, and I put it back in the box, and I went the old school way.
I'm with you. I don't like all airbrushed things. And when we use it, it's usually because I want help telling the story after the fact. So I want a little bit of airbrushing, and then I want to go in with something else on top of it to disguise that it's just an airbrushed piece.
Ron, I'm not sure you told us what you were afraid of in terms of prop building.
Oh, yeah, painting in general. Just you get the model or whatever perfect, and then I've seen some people completely mess up the model. Now I know you could spray like a primer filler or something over it, like one solid color, and start over again. But I'm just petrified of messing up something. Like you do all this craftsmanship and get everything just right, and then you paint it and it's all muddied and ruined. And it's like, oh, now I have to build the whole thing all over again. So that it's my fear. And the airbrush, just you throw that in there as well, because I've not used it before. I'll start off slow and paint everywhere, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah. It can make a hot mess out of it. Mm-hmm. Painting is, I think, the biggest challenge. I don't like to paint because I'm like you, Ron. I feel like I'm gonna ruin it as soon as I start putting paint on. Yep. And actually, every project, if my wife was in here, she would tell you she'll come out and check on something. She does a lot of the filming for me, so I'll be working on something and start shaking it. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "It's ruined. We ruined it. We got to start over. We'll have to push out of 2 weeks." And she's like, "Just weather it. You'll let it get past that scary part." Mm-hmm. And she's right. And 9 times out of 10, I get through that part and it looks good. But.
Right. That's such a great aspect of the show, the way you guys work together on builds and things. I always love those episodes. When Carissa's in there. My wife gets involved a little bit, as I know at the end of some of my shows.
Yeah,
puts the odd little comment in there, but it's great that, when you do your build-offs as well. It's so fun to watch.
And she edits everything. I don't edit any of it anymore. So everything you see is her. Yeah, I don't know, just one day got really involved and never looked back. So now, and she wasn't someone that ever built stuff. So it's so much fun to have her working on it. And right now she's designing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I said she's cracking out some crazy video edits lately. The last few videos, there's been some real some up in the game there.
Yeah, she always tells me, don't talk too much. I pointed out where you can talk, and then don't talk through the rest of it. Because I never shut up.
So you have lots and lots of videos in your back catalogue, and ages ago, like probably most of us watching, I've watched them all, binged them all.
Thank you.
It's a bit of a family thing as well, and the boy likes to watch them with me. And awesome. What's really good to see and comforting as a fellow YouTuber is to see your progression over the years. Okay, I mean, you've always been good. Let's get that straight. But you can definitely see an improvement over time from good to even gooder. And there's some great episodes I remember, like the R2D2 leg lamp, the Sarlacc throwy thingy. What do you call it? The cornhole over there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
Have you got a favourite and have you got a least favourite episode of yours? Is that fair to ask you?
No, that's fine. Yeah, it's they're all hard for me to watch, and every time we do it, I think we need to get better. We got to get better at whatever it is, right? The one I enjoy the most probably was the Chucky and Carbonite.
Brilliant.
And I think that's because making that episode, all my wife did and I did was laugh. Filming all the little things we did with the Chucky doll, and just those are really enjoyable. And we talk a lot about making the projects more film than a YouTube tutorial. We've never been a tutorial channel. We don't do a step by step. I get a lot of flack for that, and that's fine. It's never been about showing someone how to do a specific thing. It's doing something crazy and having someone say, my idea isn't that crazy, I should try it, right? So I don't really have a least favorite. The earlier stuff is hard for me to stomach. It's cringy to watch.
Oh, it's great.
Not being comfortable on camera, not being I mean, you guys all have channels, so you're all doing it, and you probably understand that you go back and watch after you put one up a few months later and you think, why did I think that was funny?
Exactly.
You know?
There's a lot of face palming.
Yeah. You're all excited when you edit it, and then you put it up, and then you come back a month later and you go, I can't believe anybody sat through that. That's how I feel.
For my 1 year anniversary, which was back in June, I redid the first video over again.
Redid it? The thermal detonator?
No, the scompling.
Oh, yeah.
So I redid that a year later, like the entire video. Because I don't know, in my first videos, there was no me, there was no talking, there was nothing. It was just hands and a lot of subtitles.
Yeah.
So I went back and redid it the way I film now, with myself in it and talking and this and that.
Yeah.
And like if you watch them side by side, there's obviously a tremendous difference, but I still felt like it's like it hasn't really changed much in my eyes anyway.
I would disagree in watching your stuff. I mean, obviously between being on camera and not.
Right. Yeah.
I find that the people I watch, I'm more interested in those people. Right? Like what we're all doing is great, but when I watch all three of you, I get a kick out of it because I'm like, I know them. Even if I didn't know you, we all feel like we know each other, and it's this really weird environment where we don't, but we think we do, right?
Right.
But it's like you're watching a friend do something, and that's super exciting.
Yeah.
So I like that you started doing stuff where you were on camera.
I think it's cool, Dennis. I think it's a really
tough for me. I've never been comfortable in front of it, and I still don't feel like I am. I mean, maybe I'm sort of getting around to it, but
you will the more you do. It's a weird thing to be talking to a camera. And I live next to a daycare center, so in the afternoon and they're there through Saturday. So when I do talking to the camera, they can hear me. They're like the adults that are watching the kids. They can hear me. And when I walk out the door and they're all standing there with the fence going, and they're talking to yourself, buddy?
Yeah. That's a very real thing. I've often thought about that when I've been filming my intros and outros. I do most of that in the spare room studio. And I don't know, I find it really difficult to do it if I know the kids or the missus are around and in earshot, because it just feels stupid.
Yeah, you do.
Which is why I've started to do it on my day off, or when the wife's really supportive, she might take the kiddies out, or late at night when they're all asleep, and I can still pretty much I can project my voice without waking them too much. So that's why most of my videos I look half dead, because it's probably 3 a.m. when I filmed it. But it's about that. But on the odd occasion where I film in the garage, and I have the door open to let the light in, I get some really weird looks.
Oh, I bet. Like,
what's he doing?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay, this brings us to another topic, and that is, would we watch an R-rated Star Wars? How cool would that be? What do we think, guys?
I think, I would definitely watch it. So it's a double-edged sword here. One is you couldn't take the kids to it, and you know how they're going to be drawn to it. I mean, the moment we see a preview of it on television or online, they're just going to be begging to see it. And what's reminiscent of this would be Deadpool. I'm sure tons of kids were like, "Oh, I want to see that. It's Marvel," but you can't really. So, yes, I would love to see it. I don't think it would ever get made but then again, we do have Deadpool, so that's my thought on it. I would love to see it.
I mean, there's a possibility that it could get made, but are we talking rated R? There's many different avenues of rated R, right? We could be talking violence, we could be talking sexual, there's many different routes.
Yeah.
We're clearly talking violence.
There's no sex in Star Wars.
Like a more violent version of Star Wars? I don't even know if that, in our mindset, would that work? I don't know.
That's the question, right? Would making it R-rated make anything better? Right? They cuss. Right. They just use things like dank ferric, and we're all accepting that.
Right.
So the question would be, is there anything that is R-rated that would make them more interesting? Rogue One is pretty dark. as far as
It
content,
is.
right?
Yes.
I would hesitate to say that that's for kids. They all die.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was looking at Clone Wars. You know, I'm just starting to look at Clone Wars. I'm on season 4 now, so and there's a lot of killing in that show. A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, every episode somebody's getting stabbed or
dismemberment and all sorts.
And mostly clones. I get it, but there's some characters that are like not really lead characters, but important characters. You know, and they're gone.
Yeah.
You know, so you're right. What else could they show aside from blood and gore? You know, but then
right. Yeah. I mean, that would be it. If they pursued the blood and gore avenue, would we be as interested? I don't know.
Yeah, I think there is a question there, sort of following on from what Brian was just saying, in terms of would it make them better. If you think about certainly the movies that I enjoy the most from the franchise is Rogue One, just almost to me the best one. I just love it so much.
Yep.
But dark, as you said. Empire Strikes Back, dark. Yeah, it was that kind of feeling all the way through it. But again, brilliant film, one of my favorites. The darker episodes of the shows I enjoy. Talking about video games, obviously, the violence in video games, not so much under the Disney banner, but certainly back in the day, maybe a decade ago, there was some pretty gruesome stuff going on in those games. And then the Death Trooper comics and stories and things, it kind of is out there already. It's never really made the jump to the screen. Am I right in thinking that Revenge of the Sith got a slightly higher age? Was it 12?
PG-13, I think, right?
PG-13, yeah, something like that. In the UK, I might have been something different. But so they do work. I think dark does work. It just depends how far you go. And is there space in the franchise bubble? This is my argument. If there's space for cartoons, okay, now Bad Batch is kind of half and half, a kids show and a show aimed at the adults sat with the kids. I don't know. Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff. They're definitely younger audience orientated, but they're still quite adult in theme. But if there's space for the kids shows, surely there should be space for the extreme Star Wars. I think it's got an audience. I'd watch that.
I know they have what is it, a zombie crossover for Star Wars? I think that would be a good one. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
That would be a great one, actually. But I think that proves the point of you would only have to go there if it was actually going to make it better or serve a different storyline. Because if you get hit with a blaster, you don't bleed, right? It cauterizes the wound, just like a lightsaber. So you don't really need the gore. I don't know. I never thought about it until you guys asked that question. It's funny.
Let's look at it another way. There are some dark things that are alluded to that we don't see. Ewoks, right? Ewoks, cute and cuddly little sods, okay? But they were going to eat Han and Leia. And God knows what else they've done to the stormtroopers that they're playing drums on their helmets with. I mean, these guys are flesh-eating animals. But they're cuddly, right? And they're fun. And all the kids wanted to...
You just made me like Ewoks all of a sudden.
There's actually a really cool fan film out there, a virtual video Unreal Engine film where it shows a little bit of a darker side of the Ewoks. We'll make sure we put a clip of that up and link to it. That's interesting. Yeah. And then in the movies themselves, of course, just look at the scene where Anakin is attempting to crawl out of the lava. I mean, that's a pretty deep.
Oh, he lost all his limbs.
I mean, for that matter, again with Anakin, think of how different it would be when he went and slaughtered all those Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
Had we seen more than just lights flashing back and forth, or the younglings for that matter.
Yeah, but I guess, would it be more powerful if you saw him killing younglings or the way they did it?
See, that's the key.
To me,
I kind of want to see that. I don't really. No, I don't really. I'm joking.
If there was the gore, I feel like it'd be a little too much. I don't know that it would have the following it does now if it were more on the gore side than it is now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're big horror movie fans. We even have a horror movie podcast because we get so excited about it. And my wife's obsessed. And we always talked about, well, what if Star Wars was a horror movie? And I said they made it already. It's called Alien and Aliens, right? So if again, it's not unless the zombie one got made. I don't know what you would make that would all of a sudden make me love it more.
Actually, Dennis, the expert on Clone Wars, there is a zombie storyline in the Clone Wars, right?
In the Clone, yes,
yeah, there is an episode.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I've never watched
a Geonosian episode, I think.
Right.
Right.
Involves worms.
Yeah. So, Brian, you've still not got on the Clone Wars bandwagon, then you've not watched those shows yet?
I tried multiple times. I can't. I obviously don't have any problem acting like a child. So it's not that. It's just it didn't grab me. The animation is weird to me. All right, confession time. I hate the prequels. Let it rain. I just never really understood how the same creator that made the original trilogy then produced the prequels the way they were delivered. Maybe hate's a little bit of a strong word. So I'm not in love with Anakin Skywalker as a character because it didn't translate to me like Darth Vader did. So watching the Clone Wars is just something I can't get my head around. And then the animation's a little weird. But then Rebels came out. I watch it every couple months, the whole thing from beginning to end. And I think that has to do with the Ralph McQuarrie effect, right? All the artwork that they did in there is based on his artwork, which is the stuff I loved as a kid. So that translates more for me for some reason.
It's so funny you said that because I feel the same way. And I've tried. I really tried to like the prequels. I've looked at them. Obviously around Christmas time all the time they keep showing them on television, and it's one of those things where you're walking by and you're like, "Oh, it's on," and you just start watching. I can't help it. I know I just can't. And about 5 minutes in, someone delivers some bad acting or something's not right.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go on that tangent. I'm sorry.
No, and I'm not bagging on it. And it just so I couldn't get bought into Clone Wars because I couldn't get bought into the Anakin version that I saw in the prequels. And everyone tells me I'm doing a disjustice to myself for not watching it.
Yeah,
and I can see it on Dennis's face right now.
You are. You know what? I did the same thing, and I just started watching, and I'm on season 4, and I got to say, it is really, really good.
Okay.
I mean, take this from it. What they do with character development and characters you saw on screen but didn't know anything about. In the Clone Wars, they flesh those characters out big time. I mean, tons of, you get to understand why they may have done the things they did for the little bit. And it's more impactful when Order 66 comes in because you've gone through their entire, you've been with them. They're like good friends, and now it makes it's much more meaningful. I will say that much.
That's where Saw comes from too, right?
Saw Gerrera,
Saw Gerrera, yeah. And I also like the way the Bad Batch picks up on the Order 66, the aftermath, and the
Order 6. So Bad Batch are fans, not fans.
Fans.
Big fans.
Okay.
Fans.
Yeah.
Big fans.
To me, that feels like it's right on that line of it's a little Clone Warsy and a little Rebels-y at the same time. Those are words.
Yep.
It's a different experience.
Majority of that comes out of the final season of Clone Wars.
Okay.
That's where their arc begins, in the final season of the Clone Wars.
Gotcha.
It's where you're first introduced to them. They're brought in for special missions, so on and so forth.
When I talk to people like you guys, I get excited about Star Wars again. Because for years, it's always been about making something because I was more interested in what it looked like than anything else. So this gets me pumped.
I mean, in my opinion, the greatest character in Star Wars comes from the Clone Wars. I mean, what Filoni does to develop Ahsoka Tano from child to what we see in The Mandalorian is just magnificent. I mean, there's a passion there. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he lived that. And the way
I got to go watch Clone Wars.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Brian, thanks for...
Old.
So one of our topics tonight was, is there too much Star Wars now? We've kind of already touched on a lot of this because there is so much of it, and obviously as prop builders and room builders ourselves, for me it means there's so much more to draw from. But Brian, I'd like to hear your opinion. For me, it's a great time to be alive as a Star Wars fan. There's so much out there. There's so much more coming. What do you think?
I think we went through years of nothing really, right? When I remember where I was sitting when I found out that Disney bought Lucasfilm. And I remember having a conversation with a non-Star Wars fan at the same moment that happened and having them say, great, now they're going to make Star Wars movies. And I'm thinking, why haven't they made them already? And I know George Lucas in interviews you see, he's kind of got a sour taste in his mouth for all kinds of reasons, right? But when that happened, I thought, great, now we're going to get something every year. And when they started doing films every year, I got pretty excited. What I learned in this last, and you guys probably did too, is that Star Wars fans can be the most toxic fans in the world because they're so passionate about it, and they fall into different camps, right? You can see Dennis's excitement over Clone Wars, and I'm not, but it's great because there's a little bit for everybody in that universe. So all those words later, make it, send it to me weekly.
That's one of my fears about it, though. If you think about it, the big machine, right? Disney, they're running it. How quickly did they pull the plug on the movies as soon as they had one little bad movie?
So here's a question I'll ask you on that. Were you frustrated enough that you were glad they pulled the plug, or were you glad that they pulled the plug and hit a reset button that is now looking to be like it's going to be insane?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a reset button is great, but I guess my fear is over the next 24 months, let's say, we have potentially 6 different shows popping up here.
Right.
So halfway through, we get 2 bad shows. Does Disney chicken out and pull the plug on the rest of the shows? Or is there enough? I guess my question is there enough fan base outside of like our fandom that would carry a show like that would carry that amount of shows with a corporation like that? I guess I'm thinking of it more along the lines of not necessarily as a fan, but as a business. Yeah.
I mean, they spent $500 million, right? So they've got to get their money back. That's part one. Part two is they came out and tried to make 3 movies to satisfy 40 plus years of fandom. No way are they going to succeed. No way. I knew out of those 3 movies we'd have, if we got one good one and I liked half of the other one, it was a win. But what they did is it's almost genius in my opinion. They come out, they make the trilogy, and overall I would say it probably tanked as a whole. I don't believe that entirely, but it kind of tanked, right? But we got Rogue One and people loved it. People loved Solo too. It just happened that it came too close to a movie that everybody was angry about. But what they did is it's like they cleared all the cobwebs out. So now you bring in someone like Filoni to a live action. He partners with Jon Favreau and then proves you can make a Star Wars series about someone we've never met, we don't care about prior, and it's a monster success. So if I'm Disney, I'm going, okay, we might have done too much of the old Star Wars, but now we can do a bantha load of the new Star Wars, and everybody's going to be happy. That's my opinion. I don't know what the rest of you guys think.
I like that. I like that opinion. I agree with that. I never thought about it as heading like a new Star Wars, which is pretty much what they've done with The Mandalorian, right? I mean, nobody knew that guy. Nobody knew anything about it.
Nobody cared.
You get that opening scene and you got Clint Eastwood standing there in an iron suit.
And if you would have found out ahead of time, and this is for all of you guys, if you knew ahead of time that there was going to be a Baby Yoda, what would your opinion have been before you saw it the first time?
Yeah, I often think this. I think that character had all the hallmarks of possible failure and ridicule and Jar Jarism, but it was the way
negativity right off the bat.
it's the way it was handled. It was handled so well. And
Right.
what makes spoilers for those that haven't seen the last episode of Mandalorian that's aired, but what makes that last scene so clever is that it was speaking to two different audiences, and no doubt you guys have watched the documentary already, and people might not have watched it yet that are watching the show. But there's a scene at the end of the Mandalorian season 2, and it speaks to two different two different demographics of Star Wars fans. So obviously, when he turns up, that's me in tears. That's me. Wow, amazing, one X-wing. But for the people that have just come into Star Wars because of Mandalorian, it's a cool show, right? First and foremost, it's a cool TV show. It just happens to be a cool Star Wars TV show to people like us,
right?
And they're in it for he's saying goodbye to the little baby, and it was genius. It was genius. Those guys know what they're doing, and I think it's in good hands. And I would say,
I do too.
What's not to like about hours and hours and hours of Star Wars, which is what you get in a TV show, as opposed to a couple of hours on screen in a movie.
Yep.
I would so much rather see them do more series than do more movies.
Yeah, I agree. We talked about this not too long ago. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a 22-hour movie as opposed to a 2 or 3 hour movie?
Yeah,
totally.
Right.
I was bummed that some of those Mandalorian episodes were only like 30 minutes long.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, one more. Yeah, and the good thing about the episodes is, again, just like with Clone Wars, you can flesh out a lot of the characters. In fact, the entire species could be talked about, and that happens in Clone Wars as well. You kind of get to see where someone's home world is and their behaviors and belief systems and all that.
Right. Yeah. And they bring a lot of those Clone Wars characters directly in. What is it? The Bo-Katan and that whole tribe, and those are all developed before.
That's all Clone War developed. Those are all cartoon.
See, and that brings it full circle. Man. Yeah, exactly. So that way, people, that are new to Star Wars, that may have, the Clone Wars may have been their introduction. You've gotten their characters in there, and then obviously people like us in their 30s and 40s. You bring back special characters here and there, or characters we've kind of seen but didn't really know about, like the IG-11 type character. We see him on an Empire for like a few minutes, right? And does nothing, moves. Just stands there. I think his head turns. And now we get to see how that type of character can truly act. I mean, you see that in Clone Wars as well, but there's something about the live action, seeing it in a live action point that just brings it home,
It does make a difference. I mean, Boba Fett, same way, right? What does Boba Fett have? 10 seconds of fame?
Yep.
In the movies?
Yeah. And dies badly.
People go crazy for 40 years over 10 seconds of fame.
Right. It's crazy. And I had my reservations about him showing up. I was concerned about it. But the way Filoni deals with that kind of stuff and Favreau together, like, if those guys are making it, and now Deborah Chow and any of the rest of the directors that are all involved, I don't care. You make whatever you want, I'll watch it.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It's the decisions they make, isn't it? It's like I watched it. I watched the whole thing again over the last week, actually. I think I binged it all. And the battle that Boba Fett has with the stormtroopers on is it Typhon? Smashing the helmets with the Gaddafi stick. I mean, it's just, this is the stuff we wanted to see way back then, right? We wanted to see that happen, and they just do it. They're just like, okay,
it's because they're fans like we are. They're about the same age as we are.
Yeah, and that's fabulous. And one thing I did want to point out about, I always talk about music, right? So for me, music is a big deal in the Star Wars films. And again, watching the documentary recently, I did realize this when I watched the show, that there were no original Star Wars themes used right up until the last moment of season 2. Of course, it was his theme, which made it all the more powerful. And greatest respect to Williams, because what greater way of saying, Williams, your music rocks, than to use him at that point and only at that point.
Right.
Yeah. So with more Star Wars comes more music, and I think the Mandalorian soundtrack has been superb. It's wonderful and weird, and it's amazing. Brian, what's your take on the music side of Star Wars?
I watched what you did, and I thought that was brilliant too. But the first gallery that they did, from season 1, they showed the guy that
Yeah.
created the theme, right? And all the weird instruments he used to create it. That made it even better, knowing that it was just this really strange conglomeration to make that sound. I don't know. Music will make everything, and this makes it feel like it's recognizable as Star Wars without having Star Wars tunes, right? I mean, it sounds like it. It fits.
I think that goes along with a majority of movies from our generation that we watch. I mean, if somebody plays Back in Time, you're on,
Done.
right away. Back to the Future,
Done.
right?
Yeah.
Done. No questions asked. You know it. They can play 2 notes of that, and everybody's on there.
That's right. Yeah.
So
You know what's
music plays a big
exciting about
part.
all this too is that we're all makers of stuff, props and rooms and everything else. They are not creating everything in CG, and they're not creating everything practical.
Right.
It's like they learned the lessons. When the prequels came out, it seemed like George had found a new toy.
Right.
Everything had to be fake, and everything was green screen. And now you've got this new team, and they have the volume where they can create the look right there on set, but they still have all the practical things that they're building and bringing in.
Right.
The Cam Toto that we never even knew what it, did I say that right? We never even knew what it was. I've got an unfinished one right there. But talk about bringing in a prop that everybody made fun of for 40 years and now making it something everybody wants to have their own. I don't know. What's for each of you, what is the one thing you want to make, if you could make anything from The Mandalorian, that you could just take a stab at making? Go,
E-Web.
The E-Web? Yeah.
E-Web.
And just put it on my driveway.
Yeah, I don't know.
Laugh at me now, neighbors.
Recently, Ron and I have been big into droid building, so I think IG-11 is on my list.
Yeah.
A full-size IG-11 is coming soon.
That would be sweet to see.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a pit droid right now.
Okay.
And then I think IG-11 is coming next.
I think a full-scale sandcrawler, because I go big. That's just how it is. So
Oh.
now I want a Millennium Falcon full size, and now I want a sandcrawler, the full thing, complete with all the droids inside and Jawas.
Right.
No, in all seriousness, I think again IG-11 would be one thing. I think as far as props and miniatures and all, I would like to make that TIE fighter with the wings that are folded up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
I got to imagine everybody's mouth dropped when that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never seen
Right.
anything like that.
So great.
Like, how does that
insanity.
land on a planet and people get out of it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nuts. That's fantastic.
I've done quite a few things already from The Mandalorian, but I mean, there's so many more.
Yeah.
I mean, the egg container was a great build. I've done the armorer's helmet. What else have I done?
You're cracking it, aren't you? Cracking them out, Dennis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've done a tracking
really-
device.
You're popping out projects left and right.
There you are.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
some really great stuff in the Mandalorian, and it's that aesthetic. And I know I always go on about it, but they get it right. It's the Star Wars that I like the look of. It's the the Tatooine that I loved, and even the little buildings that pop up in the. Oh, I'm going to get the name wrong. What's the place where they go where the Crate Dragon is? Episode 1, season 2. Mos
Pelgo.
Most Pelgo.
That's the one. Yeah, those
Mos
buildings
Pelgo.
there, amazing, beautiful design, brilliant.
Yeah.
That's
Very
just
Western.
shouting Star
Yeah,
Wars.
very Western style town,
That's
right?
right.
All just one
Yeah.
strip,
Right.
It's great, and then the bar,
nothing for miles on either end of it.
yeah, and the bar where he walks in,
Yeah.
there, and it's very reminiscent of Watto's bar with the backlit top.
Right.
It's just brilliant. I just love it. I sometimes miss the storyline when I watch these shows. I have to watch them again because I just spend my time looking at the sets.
Looking around, right? I mean, Filoni's obviously a student, right? I don't think there's anything he doesn't know how to weave in there.
Yeah. He's careful with the thing we all love the most,
Mhm.
right? He takes care of it.
Yeah, and I think he's very well versed on when and where.
Mhm.
In other words, hey, I want to do this. That's not going to work for maybe another 2 seasons or
Yeah.
3 more episodes. Or he just knows how to tie it all in there without, like, what the heck was that?
Yeah. I mean, it's a universe of stuff we never got to see, and they just keep feeding it to us. I think that goes back to the question you asked of, like, is there too much?
Nope.
No. I mean, they make how many different Law and Orders and Law and Order SVU and CSI and NCI? I mean, like, come on, there's fan bases for that. Why can't I have that argument when somebody's like, they're making another Star Wars film? I'm like, how many ERs and Hope and whatever other medical dramas are there?
Exactly. So, Brian, what's next on the Smuggler's Room? Where are you taking us next? What are we doing? I know you've recently come. You've cut back a little bit on your schedule, gone to bi-weekly or fortnightly, or I don't know. We've had a discussion about whether that's fortnightly or bi-weekly.
I like that.
Fortnightly.
We had to do that. We had to do that because I was avoiding bigger projects because I couldn't meet a weekly deadline because we work full-time jobs. So next, we've got October is going to be, if I can pull it off, October is going to be so much fun because we're going to dive a little bit into my second favorite movie of all time, which is Alien. And we've always had plans to bring a little bit of alien love into our Star Wars universe. And we have a really unique way in which we're doing that in the room. And my wife right now is AutoCADing out all the different stuff we're building. So I'm super excited for that. So I think, like, in the immediate future, that's the next really big thing we're working on.
Exciting stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. Because Roger Christian was the set decorator for Star Wars, and he did Alien. So that's that tie.
Brilliant. Can't wait for that then. So you saw it here first, guys. Well, maybe you didn't, but the future is looking really good in terms of the Smuggler's Room and where we're going. And I don't know how you keep pulling ideas out of the bag. I'm lucky if I make a video a month. So it's really good that you keep the community going. And we've mentioned you on this podcast, videocast, several times, and we've had people on the show that have also talked about you, and you're kind of the godfather of the Star Wars room build movement.
Oh my gosh, that's
join with us now as we thank Brian for his contributions to the world of Star Wars creation.
Oh man, you guys are too much. No, I appreciate you having me on, and let's do it again. And we don't even have to record a podcast. We just get on and talk shop because it's a lot of fun.
It's funny you say that.
Really appreciate it.
A lot of people have said that. Like, let's just hang out.
Yeah. We could do it.
We like to think of this as the couch atmosphere.
Yeah, man.
Right? Yeah. No, and we should do something where we're building stuff in the same. There's nothing wrong with doing it virtually. We all tackle the same project together, and we just jump on for a couple hours while we're working on it.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe we could bring that to the Facebook builders group as some kind of special.
There you go.
We can do.
There you go.
Telethon. Yeah. We got to get it done in 24 hours or something, and we're all working
on
part of it.
I like it. I like it.
Sounds great.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, guys. It was good to hang out with all of you. I'm happy to do it anytime.
No worries.
Thanks
all right. Well, we'll see you next week then. No, just kidding.
Okay, so Brian, thank you once again for joining us on our mad, crazy almost Star Wars show. It's been a blast having you on board, and we're definitely going to take you up on the offer of having you back to come and do some couch talk. It's been great. So thank you very much. And
you're welcome. Thank you, guys.
And everybody, thank you very much for watching, and hope you enjoy the show. Don't forget, subscribe and click that bell if you want to catch up with our notifications of new episodes, and you'll never miss what's going on in the world of almost Star Wars.
Yes.
Till next time, guys.
Cheers.